The eastern star was the star Sirius, or the dog star, the evil star. And if you notice this, here it is. Does anyone see that pentagram right there? Here's the upside down star. There's a star right there. Right there. You see that star? Right down there, going from the White House, starting right there in front of the White House lawn, starts the upside down pentagram. And there you have it, friends. Now let's notice this, friends, because we'll also see Illuminati symbolism and Freemasonic symbolism even in our dollar. Does anyone know who, by the way, who put this logo on the back of our dollar bill? This is not, as it says right there, the Great Seal of the United States. Has anyone ever seen this seal on any kind of government paperwork? It is the Great Seal of the Illuminati. If you notice on the top, it says Annuit Coeptis, which means the birth of, and then Latin, Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means the birth of a new world order. If you look on the bottom of the pyramid, there are Roman numerals for a date. It says 1776. This was the date of the Illuminati in 1776. The person who put this all-seeing eye and the symbology of ancient Egypt on the back of our dollar bill was none other than Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was also a 33rd degree Freemason. Matter of fact, there are pictures out there of him with the Masonic handshake, and there you have the Masonic handshake right there. Does anyone see that? The Masonic handshake right inside the square and compass with the Illuminati all-seeing eye on top of it. And here you also have the hexagram. The hexagram is one of the most evil signs in witchcraft. The Jewish nation uses that as their flag. This, of course, was created by the United Nations in 1945 when Israel was created as a nation. Here you have again the hexagram with an upside-down, inverted triangle. Right in the middle, there's a circle which is representing the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. In Egypt, he was called Horus. Now notice this, friends. Do we see the all-seeing eye all through media today? Here you have CBS. Does anyone know what the motto of CBS is? We have our eye on you. What about AOL? Here you have right here Time Warner. Here's even Nickelodeon. And here you have the watchful eyes. This is a Freemasonic symbol right here. There's the skull and compass right there, the square and compass. And right there, the square and compass on a pyramid. And here you have, look at what this is, the Office for Information Awareness. This is a government spying agency from the National Security Agency, the NSA. Our NSA, right here, look at what this symbol is for our National Security Agency. It is a all-seeing eye spying on the world. Do you see that? And you say, I can't take this. No, are you going to tell me that our leadership is involved in spiritualism? That's what the Bible tells us, friends, isn't it? The kings of the world, the leadership of the world. Now you may be saying, I don't believe that this spine has anything to do with me. Friends, have you looked at the Constitution lately? And have you looked at the rights that we've lost? You know, Morgan and I, the gentleman who was up here just recently doing Bible work, we were out in the community, right, Morgan, and we visited a man. Don't say his name. And we went and visited a man, what was it, yesterday or the day before? And this man was, I think, 76 years old now. He had been a Marine in the Marine Corps for 8 years back. This was in the very, very early 50s. He then went to the Navy, and from the Navy, he told us, he's now old, and he's broken down, he's beaten up, he's on the last years of his life, and he began to tell us what he had been involved in. And I was shocked. My father's a Vietnam veteran, so I'm interested in the Vietnam conflict, and he began telling us his history and saying how that after his 8 years in the Marine Corps and after his tour in the Vietnam campaign, that was what it was back then before it turned into a conflict, so-called, he said that a man, and I won't mention his name, he actually told us his name, a man by the name of Mr. Nevins from the National Security Agency came and recruited him out of the Marine Corps to be a mercenary. And he spent the next 30 years of his life being a mercenary, or you know what a mercenary is, friends? It is a paid hitman for the National Security Agency of our government for 30 years. He began talking about how he could fly any helicopter, he could fly any plane, and now he was broken down, his body was falling apart, the last years of his life, and he was seeking for God. And he was almost confessing to us how the last 30 years of his life he had spent as a paid and professional murderer for our federal government. Let's continue on, friends. What about this owl? There it is. There's a close-up. You see that right there, friends? The close-up of the owl. You didn't want to see that owl right there? That owl, do you see what's in the center of it? What's in the center right there? That's the U.S. Capitol building. The U.S. Capitol building is right in the middle of an owl. Now, why the owl? If you look on the $1 bill, on the front part of the $1 bill, there's a little crescent moon, and you see that little spot right there. If you even have a $1 bill in your pocket, you can even look at it. And right there on the very top, you'll see a little guy right in there, which is an owl on your $1 bill. Why is there an owl on the $1 bill? Why are there cobwebs all over it? Why is there an all-seeing eye of Lucifer in a pyramid on the back of the dollar bill? Why is there the number 13 all through it? You say, well, that's because of the original 13 colonies. No, it's because 13 is a holy number in Freemasonry and in the Illuminati. Now, let's continue on. What about the owl? Is the owl also a key of looking at how leaders would worship the devil in the last days? Let's look at this, friends. Here's the owl again. The owl goes back to the ancient pagan worship of Semiramis. Look at this. There's the owl right there. She was called Lilith in the Old Testament. Aleister Crowley, Kabbalism, the Satanist, he named his daughter Lilith after the ancient owl of Nimrod and Semiramis. There's another owl right there. And if you notice, on the side of this little Jeep, the BC, and it says Old Druid right there, the owl was worshipped also by the Druids as Molech. And the BC stands for the Bohemian Grove. How many of you ever heard of the Bohemian Grove? The Bohemian Grove is located in Northern California, and it is where the leadership of our world go to meet to make life-changing decisions for the world. Notice, may I show you a picture of somebody who snuck in to the Bohemian Grove and took a picture of the worship that goes on in there. I hope it's the next screen right there. Oh, no, there it is. There it is. Bohemian Grove, it says, weaving spiders come not here. And there are two men actually addressing the illustrious group of international famous people at the pagan temple of Bohemian Grove. Here it is, another logo of Bohemian Grove. Does anyone know who that man is right there on the left? Who is that guy? George Walker Bush. Does anyone know what school he attended in the 1960s? Yale. Does anyone know the famous society that is located on the campus of Yale? It is called Skull and Bones. Did you know that this man right here is a chapter 322 of Skull and Bones, one of the most elite secret societies in America? He's not alone, by the way. Many famous people are Skull and Bonesmen, including Senator John Kerry, who ran against him in the 2004 election. In other words, the election was a big joke. Let's continue on, friends. Here it is. And there is the worship of Bohemian Grove. A man by the name of Alex Jones, who has a website called InfoWars, and he actually snuck in there. He has a shortwave radio program, and he actually took a picture of the leaders of our world dressing up like pagan druids and worshiping a huge statue of what does that look like? An owl. An owl, which was Molech. And here they are. This was called the cremation of care. They were burning an effigy of a skeleton. And these were, by the way, friends, these were leaders of our nation. You say it can't be. Well, here we have the ancient phallic symbol of the worship of Molech. This is an Egyptian obelisk. Does anyone know where this obelisk is located? Washington, D.C. So we have the paganism all over the place. Now notice this, friends. Look at the Masonic handshake, where you have the thumb over the second knuckle. Here you have right here, this was the Pope of Rome shaking hands with some of the leaders of the world. This right here is the Grand Master of Freemasonry. His name is, I believe he's the Duke of Kent, the modern-day Grand Master. Here he is also the Masonic handshake. There's another one, a Masonic handshake between the Pope and the Patriarch of the East. There's another handshake right there. You have where they lock the fingers underneath. And here you have, interesting, what are they doing? Manuel H., his name is M.H. Barroso. He is the European Union Commissioner, the leader of the European Union, shaking hands with the leader of the free world, and they are having a Masonic handshake. Very interesting. Here's another one, a symbol of the Illuminati, or the 666. Who is making them? Look at this. Look at all the people. Here's the First Lady making the symbol. Here's George Bush, Dan Quayle. Here is Vladimir Putin and the former Prime Minister of Russia, I believe it was. Here they have Bill Clinton making the same thing. Here even the Pope. The Pope is involved in the Illuminati symbol. Here you have another Pope, Pope John Paul II, making the Freemasonic sign. Here is a symbol of the Freemasonry and here you have it. Why are they all right there at the funeral of the Pope? 3 sitting presidents. They're all involved in the same club, the worship of Lucifer. You say, how can that be? Iran, look at him. Look at how many times he makes this symbol. Right here. Here you even have the Civil War general making it. Of course, you have the Ozzy Osbourne. But here's Dick Cheney making the symbol. And of course, there he is again, being caught on camera, making the symbol as well. Over and over and over again. Notice again, here's George W. Bush with the Queen of England. And here on the left, having a signal for his insiders to understand that they're all part of the same club. Now, friends, you might be saying this is insane. May I show you, friends, some more Masonic symbols, Masonic handshakes between Tony Blair and Pope Benedict XVI. Here he is again, over and over and over again, crossing himself. Here is even Ron Paul with a Masonic handshake. And there they are, the satanic sign with the Church of Satan with Anton LaVey. Now, friends, let me show you something. I'm going to go on now, past all of this. Does anyone know who this man right here is? Albert Pike. Does anyone know who Albert Pike is? Albert Pike is the only Confederate general from the Civil War to have a statue erected in his honor in Washington, D.C. You say, why do we have a Confederate general in Washington, D.C.? Weren't they war criminals? He was the very first 33rd degree Freemason, and he was also a member of the Illuminati. He wrote a book called Morals and Dogma, right here with the double-headed eagle. The Rothschilds also use this symbol. And this was the man who helped to create the illustrious 33rd degree. He is, by the way, look me up on this, friends. This is simply history. He is actually buried under the stairs in the wall of the Freemasonic temple in Washington, D.C., where all Freemasons have to go to get their 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite. Now, may I share with you what he said? This is not my words. These are the words of Albert Pike himself, of those who are Freemasons. Notice what he says about Freemasonry. To you, sovereign grand instructors general, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Who said this? Albert Pike himself said this, July 14th, 1889, and he was addressing the 23 Supreme Councils of the world. That means, friends, these are not my words. These are the words of the very man who created the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. And he says that if you are above being a 30th degree Freemason, if you're 30, 31, 32, or a 33rd degree Freemason, you are a Luciferian. Now, did I say this? Or did Albert Pike himself say this? Now, may I share with you who are 33rd degree Freemasons? Do we have a record of them? Here is an initial list of 33rd degree Freemasons. Now, you might be saying, where did I get these names? It's really, you can go to the internet. This is actually from the Freemasonic Lodge itself in Washington, D.C. There are ways of getting a hold of these records. Notice who are 33rd degree Freemasons or Luciferians. King Umberto Agnelli, Buzz Aldrin, Yasser Arafat, Gene Autry, Admiral G.W. Bard, M.H. Barroso, that was the man doing the Freemasonic handshake with George Bush. He's the Commissioner of European Union. Justice Hugo Black, Tony Blair, who incidentally converted to Catholicism once he left being Prime Minister. John Wilkes Booth, George Herbert Walker Bush, Senator Byrd, Jimmy Carter. You say, no, how can Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, good old honest Jimmy, be a 33rd degree Freemason? May I share with you the honest truth? If you look at the majority of our presidents, many of them were Freemasons.